Hello, Garland Nixon here, and this is a Sunday afternoon. Here it's about 12:20 or so in Maryland, rainy day, and we're going to pick apart some of the contradictions that are created by literal oligarchs who made their money off of the government, um, now coming to power in the age of empire. Let's talk. Good morning, one and all. So we got plenty to talk about. You know what I better do? You know what I better do? I better turn my phone off before we get started, because everybody that knows my watches my streams knows that if I don't turn this darn thing off, that it's going to ring 100 times in a row. All right, let's talk. As we sit here and we see, weeping and gnashing of teeth in the Democratic Party and in the amongst the neocon class, the knuckle draggers. And we see joy. There's great joy amongst the Austrian economic class, the libertarian bros, and all of these people are, oh my gosh, we got it made. But when you have a situation where the richest people in the world come to power, and this is what we've got. We've got very, very, very powerful people, the richest people in the world coming to power, who made their money off and off government, more often than not off government contracts, or still making a fortune off government contracts, claiming to be anti-government, claiming a lot of things. There's going to be contradictions created. And right now, people are either too angry and freaked out and emotional from that perspective, or they're too joyous and elated from that perspective to really look into these. I mean, and I understand people in the anti-war community, because I went through a bit of it, to be quite frank. There was a time when I just thought, we're doomed, we're dead, we're finished. These knuckle draggers are going to drag us into a nuclear war, either with Russia or with China, either way, and everything's going to fall apart. Or they'll just get a war going with Iran that could turn into a nuclear war. And even if it doesn't, it'll end up devastating the oil infrastructure in the Middle East, which will wipe out our economy. I mean, there was a multiplicity of scenarios in which things went insufferably bad, right? And so those of us who really understood that had a lot of concerns. And my biggest concern, also a big concern about that, was the propaganda was so heavy that I talked to people who I respect, people who are knowledgeable about things, not world affairs. The old saying, if you don't watch the news or listen to the news in the United States, you'll be uninformed. If you do watch and or listen to the news in the United States, you'll be misinformed. So I literally have said to people in past recent weeks, I said, well, why, for all of the issues I got with the libertarian tech bros, we have a existential reprieve, it looks like. I said, because I was convinced, as were many world experts, that we were on the precipice of nuclear war, and there was no way out of it, based on the mentality of the people who were running this ship. We were done. And this person was like, Garland, that's madness. That's crazy. I can't believe you believe that's something you'd find from the deep bowels of the internet. And I'm like, yeah, Dr. Jeffrey Sachs is in the deep bowels of the internet, the most respected minds, Ted Postel, like the most knowledgeable and respected minds on earth regarding nuclear conflict, all agree with me. But the people who are like smart, educated, knowledgeable people were the least informed, and which was going to make it happen easily. They were all convinced we've got to have Kamala. Why? Well, she's a minority, indigenous or black person of color, bull crap, as they marched into Armageddon, which made it all the worse. So, okay, I got through my preamble. Let's get to what's really going on here. And let me give you a perfect example. As the elation over J.D. Vance's speech spreads throughout the internet, as soon as I heard it, here's the first thing I thought, being suspicious guy that I am, I was looking for something to use to wipe off my darn glasses, but I don't suspect I'll ever find anything. I just had it a second ago. Anyway, you get a smudge on your glasses and it freaks you out. And there's a smudge on my glasses. It's freaking me out. And what freaks me out even worse is I can't find the little rag okay, forget it. Let's go. JD Vance. I got ADD. I get distracted. So I listened to JD Vance, and one of the foundations of his speech was free speech, right? One of the big part of the discussion was, look, let people say what they got to say, man. You don't have a democracy if people are not saying they're not allowed to say what they're really supposed to say. If you don't allow people to, get it out. You have to allow conversations that are uncomfortable. That's what democracy is about, isn't it? I would agree. Now, if you are one of the libertarian tech oligarchs or libertarian bros, or, one of the people who are elated right now about all the things that Trump are doing, that makes sense to you. And it makes sense, right? Hey, we're coming to Europe and we're saying you're totalitarian. You don't allow people to speak up about things you don't. You're blaming Russia for everything. This is crazy. Why don't you let people talk? Why don't you let parties stand up? What's going on here? So clearly what we saw was an opposition to censorship, right? An opposition to a totalitarian position. You're locking people up for making and charging people with crimes for making comments and having speech that you're uncomfortable with, that pushes back against the machine. Makes sense, doesn't it? Makes perfect sense. Let's find a contradiction. Let's quickly see if we can find a contradiction. And I don't think it's going to be hard. This is straight from the White House. Additional measures to combat anti-Semitism. We'll fight a joint blah, 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 to fight anti-Semitism and protect Jewish students. So now we're going to protect Jewish students and we're going to combat campus anti-Semitism. Okay. I'm not going to get into deeply what that is, but in a nutshell, because a certain unmentionable country, if you want to call it that, is very, very important to the U.S. empire, we have to create false narratives around that. Completely false narratives. And one of the false narratives, I could get into it, it's very dangerous, is to argue that criticism of policies around that particular entity, whatever you want to call it, country, state, some people call it a colony of the U.S. empire. I don't care what you call it. We all know what it is. So what you do is this, and this is your anti-woke, right? We're standing up against wokeness. And when someone says anti-racism, you say, oh my God, that's wokeness. And there's an argument to be made that in the context of how it was used of the Biden administration, that it was a fraud, right? That they would, we're standing up against racism in this country so we can overthrow the country and take their stuff. It was using minorities as a human shield to do evil deeds. And then when someone said you shouldn't be doing that, you're overthrowing that country, they say, oh, you're pro-racist. We're there to stand up against racism, right? You relabel something so that you can use it for nefarious means. Instead of fighting racism and standing up against racism, you rename your imperialist, your empire, your regime change operations, right? I'm going to do a regime change operation in this country. And I say, why are you in that country? To combat racism, to combat sexism, to combat LGBTQ and anti-trans and homophobia, evilness and domination. You relabel evil as good. And then you go do your regime change. And then you bring out protests to do a color revolution. And what is the protest about? Oh, we're standing up for the rights of fill in the blank, whatever particular group in that country you want to use as a human shield. That's an old game, isn't it? It's an old game of empire. You pretend to be guarding the good, and you use the good or the minorities or the oppressed, and you use that for some other evil means. We know that game. And people say now you can now use that to say anything that anti-racism or anti like that, it has to be stopped because it's all a lie, it's a fraud, it's wokeness, it's all of the above. Okay, that should be a nuanced conversation, but it is a realistic conversation. It has to be had simply because of the way Tony Blinken would put a rainbow flag up at the U.S. Embassy as the CIA plotted a color revolution for that country. Well, you certainly got to have a discussion as to how they used that. It was unreasonable. We're here to stand up for Black people. Really? Well, ask the Black people how they feel like they're it helps them. It ain't. It's okay. So you get what my point is, right? So they said that's wrong. We don't want to do that. So then what do? You have a problem. You have an unnamed state or entity or colony, whatever you want to call it, who's doing things that people are very unhappy with, who are doing things that on its face are wrong, right? Killing innocent people, stealing land, overthrowing the country next to them, saying horrible things that they want to do. They want to kill children because they're going to grow up to be terrorists. Just the most terrible things that are on their face, antithetical to everything that we believe as people who think that everybody should get the same expectation of rights. You just don't go kill women and children and slaughter them. And they're the seeds of Amalek, like using biblical references to really terrible, terrible things, right? Okay. So what do? You do the same thing the Biden administration was doing. You relabel what they're doing and you say, no, this is not political policy. This is not a policy of domination. This is not a policy of war. This is not a policy of annihilation. If you oppose this policy, just like anti-racism, we're going to overthrow this country. And you say, I don't think you should overthrow this country. Well, we're there to help the trans and LGBTQ people. So you hate trans and LGBTQ people. How dare you be an evil homophobe? We're there to help women. How dare you oppose that, you sexist? We're there to help minorities. Why, you racist pig? You relabel that. And then you attack those on a false basis who oppose what you're doing. And so what do we do with this entity? As J.D. Vance makes a valid claim against those in Europe, the contradiction is, and as the tech bros and the supporters of J.D. Vance and the supporters of Trump's changes and all libertarian, oh man, hooray, look at J.D. Vance. They refuse to dig into the contradiction. And this is what, on this channel, this is what we got to do. We got no choice. It's reality. This is who we are, and this is what we have to do. It's the kind of people that we are, right? We don't buy into it. Even if we approve of something, if it's I've always said, if my mother was a crackhead, I need to say to Mom, put the crack pipe down. I don't need to say, how dare you call my mother a crackhead? That's my mother. My mother's a crackhead. She's wrong, right? It's not about me approving or not approving. I can say, I love your speech, J.D. Vance. A lot of validity to it. Makes a lot of sense. And then I can say, however, when you relabel opposition to the policies of a given country and you call it anti-Semitism, when it is when it's politically motivated opposition to policies that people find bad, wrong, evil. Hey, I don't think that country should be killing men, women, and children and stealing other people's land and going against things. Look, we've got United Nations. You claim to believe in the rule of law. The United Nations have all agreed what this country is doing in this given place is wrong. And when I say I agree with the United Nations, you say, well, you're an anti-Semite. Isn't that kind of like the person when I say, well, I don't think we should be doing a regime change, Tony Blinken and Joe Biden in that country? Well, you're a racist, sexist, anti-trans, homophobe, blah, blah, blah. So there's a contradiction. And I'm like, we can see what's going on here. And literally, might I add, here's how you know it's evil. Watch this. So Trump The Democrats hate Trump. Oh my God, he's a fascist. He's Hitler. He's doing terrible things. The Democrats, he must be stopped. Stand up to Trump. That evil son Mitch, he's going to get us all. Oh, wait a minute. Blue state Democrats spearhead bills to crack down on campus anti-Semitism, right? DOJ forms task force to fight college anti-Semitism, right? More than a year after these agitators kicked off a nationwide effort to bring their anti-Semitic message to college campuses, right? So, how do we know it's crooked, right? It's bipartisan. The Democrats who have decided that everything that Donald Trump does is evil, that he's Hitler, that he's a racist, that he's a fascist, that you have to stand up to him. I'm glad that Trump came in there cleaning out this fascism, this evil terribleness, and of all evilness that he's doing. What about this relabeling, this action by this unnamed country? What about relabeling people who oppose that as anti-Semitism? And literally deporting some of these people and locking them up and literally saying, if colleges allow these people to exercise their First Amendment rights and oppose the policies of the United States, oppose the foreign policy of the United States, oppose the foreign policy of a country that supposedly, as we're told, is not even part of the United States, they will face retribution by their own government. What about the libertarian bros that are telling us we're standing to keep the government off your back? Okay, well, I don't agree with this unnamed country. Ho, 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 the government's going to come bang on your door, take everything you got, deport you out of the country, throw you out of your, and not only that, the government is going to take money from these colleges unless they do it to you. Now, might I add, that started under Biden, didn't it? Trump, we're going to reverse the evil policies of Biden. What about the ones about speech crackdown on campus? Well, on that one, I mean, hey, come on. Maybe Joe Biden didn't have everything right. Okay, so that's the first contradiction. And that is the libertarian tech bros. And make no bones about it. You know my position if you've been watching it. Look, there are various groups in this country that have risen to power and ascendancy over the course of the years, right? This group, that group, whatever group, right? The FDR at one point, he was there in the 20s. It was the laissez-faire, basically the kind of libertarians, economic libertarians of their time, and the different various groups, right? And the last, say, since the Clintons, the unipolar moment from, say, 1991 here until the last few months, one could even argue, really earlier than that, the neocons just didn't know that it wasn't a unipolar moment. But at any rate, the neocons, the unipolar neocons, during that moment, they were convinced that the United States was without equal as far as power, and the Wolfowitz doctrine was what? Not only was the U.S. without equal, the U.S.'s mission in the world was to maintain hegemony and domination to a point where it led us all up to death, almost near death. Along come the libertarian tech bros. Out you go, knuckle dragging neocons. New world, the libertarian tech bros are in power, right? And of course, the man and woman libertarian on the street, hooray, we've got our libertarian tech bros in power, and we shall move forward, and we shall ignore the contradictions between the ideology of libertarianism and the dirt that they're actually doing, and the consistency of empire. There is consistency of empire. The unnamed country is a very important tool of the empire, and that tool is a military and intelligence and political outpost in the Middle East, where oil, the lifeblood of industry worldwide, currently that could change, but that's where that is. And if you're going to be a world power, all the world powers really converge on that area and struggle for power. China wants to keep their oil going. Russia wants to keep good relations so that they can, help to regulate the price of energy worldwide. And of course, the U.S. wants to help dominate it. Wants to help dominate it so we can help to dominate worldwide industry and access to that, right? So China needs access to it. Russia needs access to regulating the prices, and the U.S. sells it. We need access for world domination to regulate everything. And that unnamed entity is in the midst of it. And we can have a military base, an intelligence base, and we can have a political foundational base there all at the same time. But we've lost all morality now, and that can never work again. But my point being this: so if you're a libertarian, you just got to ignore the foundational policies that you claim to believe in. You just got to ignore them, and you just got to cheer J.D. Vance, and you got to ignore the contradiction that, as J.D. Vance says, I'm going to stand up against Europe for cracking down on free speech and for taking these dramatic draconian actions against people who utilize their free speech. I'm going to say it's wrong for Joe Biden, et cetera, to use anti-racism, anti-trans, the whole thing to execute their policies when they know it's a fraud and they don't really care about those people, those groups, which I agree with him on that. We're going to use that as a political tool. And then we're going to do the same damn thing because we are just as much empire, imperialist, whatever word you, globalist, whatever word you want to use in numerous respects. We are the same damn machine, but we're going to tweak this machine. So they're not, do not be mistaken. Here's what that shows. And my dear friend Scott Ritter used the word revolution. There could be an argument to be made for that. I've heard a lot of people say there's a revolution. There's an argument to be made for that. I'm going to use a different word now because I used to teach, politics and things like that. And I'm going to use a different word: reform. See, when you talk about politics, when you're talking about political science, politics is a science. I don't know, but the term, there are terms that are used and that have a little bit of a different meaning, right? Here's the two terms. If I'm going to run as the mayor and things are really going bad, right, in a given city, terrible in the city, and people are unhappy, there's two options, right? In 2016, Hillary Clinton versus Trump. What were they running as, right? And why did Hillary lose? 2024 was a different thing, but what were they? What did they run as, and why does Trump win? One term is a reformer. A reformer says the system has some problems; it needs to be managed a different way, right? I am a reformer, and I'm going to reform this system. I'm not going to change the system. I'm going to reform it. The other is a revolutionary. The system needs to be turned upside down. It needs to be revolved. It needs to be turned upside down on its head. It needs to be ground up and thrown out the window. It needs to be completely changed, right? So reformer, tweak the system, keep the system. Revolutionary, get rid of this system and bring a new system, or at least change this system so much that it's not recognizable in its new form, right? So bottom line is, Trump and people are arguing that they're revolutionaries and this is a revolutionary change. But if you're going to continue to use anti-Semitism in the same way that the Biden people used anti-racism, and then you're going to use that same dynamic to go after the free speech of people, right? You're claiming you're here to protect the Constitution. But now you're going to go, all you're going to do is this. Look, under the constitutional standards, I can't take you out for saying that you disagree with the policies of this particular country. So how can I get around that? How did the Biden people get around it? I'm going to rename what you're doing, because it's protected, into something that I can then claim isn't protected. Even that would be protected, to be quite frank, though I may not like it. It's still protected. I'm going to reclaim it into something that everybody will agree on is evil. And then I'm going to attack that. It's a lie. I know it's a lie. You know it's a lie. We all know it's a lie. But it doesn't matter whether we know it's a lie. This is what I need to do to stop you from saying things that I don't want you to say. So all speech is protected. But some speech is protected a little bit more than others, right? And here's the foundational problem with that. Either you got free speech if you do, or you don't, right? For this reason, free speech, I've said this over and over. I've done a lot of work, and international and national work, at least, on the issue of speech. The speech that is specifically protected is unpopular speech. Specifically, you don't need government protection to stand on a corner and scream that the entity that I'm referring to, the country, the party that I'm referring to, is wonderful and great, and they're doing good things, and we've got to love them. Nobody needs to protect you. The government will pat you on the back. Google will put you at the top of their search results, right? YouTube will make you the #1 show in YouTube. So you need no help screaming that this country is wonderful. That doesn't need protection. It doesn't need protection. It is in fact promoted by the machine. What needs protection? If you say, I don't like this entity and what they're doing is wrong and I think they're evil. If you say that, it doesn't matter if it's right or wrong, if it's good or bad. You can make your argument about it. That's the one that's protected because it's unpopular speech, because that's the one the government doesn't like. The one the government doesn't like is the one you have to stand up for. So don't stand up for the speech that the government likes and then find creative ways to crush the speech that the government doesn't like and then claim that you're standing up for free speech because you're doing it the easy way. And you're doing the exact same thing that the Biden administration did. And how do we know? Because the Democrats are standing up, leading the way. Did you see that? They are taking the lead. The Democrats are literally taking the lead on Trump's policy of attacking free speech. As J.D. Vance stands up there hypocritically screaming to the Europeans, look what you're doing. You're going after free speech. You are deporting people because you're lying about what you're doing for free speech. And we know it. We're looking right at you saying, oh, okay, well, I can't say it. You know what? Oh, we're going after USAID. Really? Are you going after Google? We're going after National Endowment for Democracy. Why? Well, they're doing terrible things. They're interfering with other people. What about Google? Anybody? I'll say it again. All one needs to do is look at the analytics on my channel for the things that I say. How in the hell do I look at my analytics a year ago and for every 318 views, I got 1 subscriber? Okay, maybe it should be higher, maybe it should be lower. And then I look at it this year, and for every 6,900 views, I lose a subscriber. Literally, I'm looking at periods of time where the more people watch, the less subscribers I get. How do you go inside out for somebody to get 70,000 views and they lose 20 subscribers? You think that, what do you think that is? Do you think that's free speech? And do you think Google is not doing that maybe on behalf of countries? That everybody knows Google's a CIA operation. How you explain that Google literally, if it's emails from groups that they don't like, the emails that I've been getting from this group all along suddenly starts going into my spam folders. If you want to find, you know what you really have to do? We don't, and Google knows we're not going to do it. Every now and then go in your spam folder and start looking through and watch how your eyes bug out. You know what you're going to see in your spam folder? You're going to see a bunch of things that came in that you would have never seen because nobody looks in their spam folders. And they're things maybe related to a certain country or an entity that shall not be named. They're going to be things that came in and Google sent them straight to your spam folder so you'll never see them. Now, the Libertarian tech bros are going to save you from the National Endowment for Democracy, aren't they? Ooh, they're doing color revolutions all over the world. The Libertarian tech bros are going to save you from USAID. Oh, color revolutions. They're wasting money. And you know, libertarians love to do that. They're wasting government money. Your tax dollars are being wasted. That must be stopped. All right, what about Google? Oh, la, 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 la. The #1. They are it, dude. Everybody's got Google in their house all over the world, and Google is doing their dirt. And you know what's interesting? They went after Zuckerberg. Look what you're doing, Zuckerberg. You need to make a change. And Zuckerberg says, I've been wrong. I've been evil. I've done wrong. He comes and pays his pittance. He sits beside Tim Cook of Apple, and he sits beside the rich tech bro from India, the richest man in India, and he sits beside Bezos, and he sits beside Musk, and all these people that are filling their stinking pockets off of government contracts. And he's like, I have sinned against my libertarian tech brothers, and I shall stop doing that on Facebook from now on. The guy from Google was there. Why? How come he didn't have to bend the knee? How come, you notice Google has said nothing about, I tell you what you do, start searching Google. Right now, go to Google. I do not use Google as a search engine, but you go to Google. I may use Brave and stuff like that. You go to Google and you start searching whatever you want, and you will find it is just the same woke. I'll put it like, I don't even use words. If you search Google right now, you will find no difference between your search results in Google now and how they've been preempted by the machine and the ones on January 15th, before the January 20th. Go to Facebook, you'll see some difference. We won't even talk about X for now. That's a whole nother show. Go to Google, nothing's changed. And they're not saying anything about Google. Why? Because it is their machine. The libertarian tech bros got to have something, man. And Google's the big one. Have you look up at this guy, Robert Epstein, and listen to him talk about Google and all the dirt that Google is doing? And Trump, not any of the libertarian tech bros got a word to say about what Google's doing. None of them have anything to say about how channels like mine can go from 318 subscribers every one subscriber every 318 views to negative one subscriber every 6,900 views. How I can get 70, 80, 90,000 views and lose subscribers. We know what time it is. You'll look you'll look at the graphs, and you'll watch it. It'll be do on a given day, and just flatline. No more subscribers for you, buddy. I will have more views than I did the last 7 days. No subscribers, no nothing. We know the game, but what am I going to say? It's Google. I'm here. I'm doing what I'm going to say what I got to say. They just haven't yet said you're going to be completely, they've effectively, to some extent shadow banned me, but at least they're not saying it. So it is, what am I going to do? It is what it is. I'm going to keep doing my thing. Right. So there's my point. There is clearly a contradiction, and the elated libertarians on the street, oh, we got Javier Milei now, and he's going to just cut all the bad things of government, get rid of all this government waste. They're spending billions of dollars in government waste. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say there's not government waste, particularly when it comes to the regime change stuff, right? But let's get into that. Here's a contradiction when it comes to the so-called government waste, right? So we're to believe that Elon Musk is concerned about billions of dollars. Now, okay, I'm going to say USAID, U.S. National Endowment for Democracy, the things that are funding all this craziness around the world, okay. But they're going into, whatever, any given Department of the Interior, people who handle national parks, you're all fired. Just 70% of the people were like handling national park, handling bills that come in for Social Security or Medicare or whatever. Fire them all. Why? Because they're unneeded. But think about this. If I had a company and I wanted to, quote, downsize the company, the first thing I would do is evaluate what's going on. Let me look at the employees. Let me see what's happening. Let me see who's doing what. Why? Because what I don't want to do is this. I don't want to say, I'm going to the Department of Interior. We'd be better off with 70% of the people gone and just fire 70% of the people, because ideologically, I believe that we should have less employees. Okay. Whether I believe it ideologically or not, but first I got to know what everybody's going to do. Because you know what I don't want to do? I don't want spring to come, and I don't want national parks to open up and people will say, hey, we need our summer employees to run the national parks. And they say, all right, they got to be hired. We can't do that. Why? Because the people over in HR that hire summer employees have all been fired. The whole section that hires summer employees, they're all gone, because they just felt like they needed less government employees. And so they fired that section. Okay, what are we going to do? Well, there's a law. There are laws about how we can and can't hire people. So we don't have the ability to hire them. Oh, by the way, the whole funding for our summer employees in this national park is gone. So we have no funding for summer employees. We have no HR department to hire summer employees. So what are we going to do about this national park? We've got this huge national park. It's 10, 20, 30,000 acres. Americans come here, they camp, and they go canoeing, and they do all this fun. Oh, people just love this park. What are we going to do? The people in the area love the park, and we've got a town here, and this town survives because of the park in the summer. In the summer, people come to the park, and this town, little Parkville, we'll call it, as the people come in, the hotels rent out, and the diners full of people, and we've got that's just everything goes. We can't open the park because we have no money. If people come to the park, they won't be able to go canoeing. They won't be able to go to the rental areas where they rent cabins and they camp. We don't have any money or any people. We can't hire anybody to pick up the trash in the park, so we can't really open the park. We can't hire people to work at the front gate, so we can't open the park. And poor little old Parkville's going to go straight to hell because this park ain't opening. But I didn't think about that, because ideologically speaking, we got rid of 70% of the people in the Department of Interior. And I did not first do what an intellectual person would do, is carefully evaluate what would be needed for this thing, this gigantic machine that is the United States government, to do at least the minimal things that it needs to do to provide the services to the people that they pay taxes for, that they expect. And the libertarian bros all cheered that we fired 70% of the people in the Department of Interior, and the libertarian bros that live in Parkville next to this park say, well, the park's got 4 people working in it, and it's a 50,000, 500,000, 1 million acre park. And those people can't cut the grass in the park, patrol the park, provide services to rescue services if somebody's missing in a canoe and whatever, if there's an injury, and pick up the trash and all the things that has to do in the park. We got 4 people, and we have no budget to hire people for the park. We have no human resources people to hire people for the park. We got nothing. This park is done. Sorry, Parkville, you're going to be a ghost town. Those are things that have to be thought about. And as the elation of the libertarian tech bros grows, old Parkville's going to die. And that is just an example. You can't pretend. You know what? To me, the kind of ideology that just comes in and says, because I have an ideology, and that ideology is, we're better off with smaller government, I don't have to use my intellectual capacity to think and actually evaluate the government and see, are there areas I can get rid of? Are there areas that are necessities for the people of this country to enjoy the things that they got a right to enjoy? Like, for instance, this particular national park. And there are going to be people asking questions saying, how come I didn't get my check from the Department of so-and-so? I'm supposed to get back. Where's the renewal for my permit? I need to do this to make a living. And nobody, and they're sorry, they fired everybody in that area. So nobody's can renew for the permits. By law, there's no new permits for that. Everybody that's doing that particular work goes out of business. These are things that have to be thought about. If you're downsizing the government, and you're using an intellectual exercise to do it, and you're thinking about it, if you're downsizing the government in the same way that the Biden administration acted out of ideology, and we said, what the hell are they doing? Well, that's their ideology, neoliberalism, and that's what they're going to do. In the same way that they acted out of ideology and they did things that weren't logical or intellectually honest, hello, we're going to get some of the same of that, and there will be a price to pay. And might I add, there's another grand contradiction, and it's an economic contradiction. As I look at Elon Musk, yay, we laid off 70% of people in the Department of whatever, Interior, Medicaid, services, and fill in the blank. And this, right, we laid off all these people, right? People who are everyday working class people, laid them all off because they're unneeded. We didn't have to look to see if they were actually needed, but we knew because of our libertarian ideology that they were unneeded. So we got rid of them, and these are unnecessary government bureaucrats. Are they really? We didn't take time to see if they were, because we didn't need to take time to see if they were, because our ideology said they were. Not our logical deductions, not our deductions based on data and based on an investigation into what we need and what we don't. Nope, our ideology said they weren't. So what happens? We got rid of all these employees and we saved $1 billion here, $2 billion. Look at all this money that we saved. Oh, wait a minute about all of this money that we saved. Let's look about all this money. Here's a contradiction. They saved you so much government money, didn't they? Oh, the Libertarian deck bros are there to save us. Wait a minute. Pentagon splits $9 billion cloud contract among 4 companies. So this was 2022. Google, Oracle, Microsoft, and Amazon will share in the Pentagon's $9 billion contract to build its cloud. Oh, we got to stop the government waste, because we just saved how many government employees? How many government employees? Let's go one further. How about we take a look here? Elon Musk's empire is fueled by $4.9 billion in government. This is 2015. That's 10 years ago. Los Angeles entrepreneur Elon Musk has built a multi-billion-dollar fortune running companies that make electric cars, sell blah, 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 blah. Tesla, Solar City Corp, Space Exploration, known as SpaceX, together have benefited from basically $5 billion in government support, according to data compiled by the Times. He definitely goes where the government money is, says Dan Doloff, an analyst at Jefferies Equity Research. There's a great strategy, but the government will cut you off one day. Well, you know what? You're wrong, Dan Doley, an analyst at Jefferies Equity Research. The government ain't going to cut him off, because he's got his hands right smack in the middle of the government pot. So there's the other contradiction. Bezos, that's $5 billion 10 years ago. Do you have any idea what kind of money he's getting right now? I guarantee it ain't $5 billion. I guarantee SpaceX. What are you doing? We're going to launch something for NASA. You know, blah blah blah. So the other contradiction of the libertarian tech bros is this: as they cut the hell out of everyday working families in the federal government, because ideologically speaking, they're useless eaters and they're wasting government money. And that government money that can be saved is going right back in their fat, filthy, lying pockets. You see, my friends, just like the Democrats, if you think George Soros or the rest of these guys is your friend, you're an idiot. And if you're some libertarian, conservative, whatever, and you think these billionaires are firing government employees so they can save your tax dollars, you're just as stupid as the Democrats. They ain't your friend, and they're not doing it to save your tax dollars so it can come back to you. They're already getting theirs. You know what you're not going to see? You're not going to see Elon Musk or Amazon or any of these people. And check this out. Yes, I love this. Here's the contradiction. My God, USAID is sending $8 million to Politico. I disagree with that. They're sending X amount of $1 million to New York Times. I disagree with that. They're sending $3, $4, $5, $7, $10 million to Reuters. I disagree with all those things. Glad it came out. Happy that it came out. We need to know that it needs to stop. That's pennies compared to you're getting, buddy. So how about Elon Musk or Bezos or any of the libertarian tech bros? Which one of those are going to say, you know, I'm firing people who got 2.5 kids in a minivan. I'm firing women who are getting breast cancer treatment right now, and they're going to lose their medical, their health insurance because they work for the government, federal government, and they're going to lose it all. And how they're going to get their treatment. This poor bastard over here, he's got prostate cancer. This person over here, his kids got leukemia, and they're getting treatment. They got good health insurance because they work for the government. I'm firing them all. They're on their own. How are they going to figure it out? What are they going to put in for Medicaid? Nah, I think I'll cut that too. Right. So the working class people got to take a haircut. But you know what? And we're supposed to be outraged. And we are. We are outraged that Politico was getting X billions of dollars. We're supposed to be outraged that these pro-independent color revolution operations all over the country was getting our tax dollars, 3 million here, 10 million, 41 million here. But I'm not supposed to be outraged that the guy who's supposedly cleaning all that up is getting more money than all of them together. I remember reading that there was this battle between Microsoft, and I don't remember what the other country, it was Amazon, and they were battling. And the reason they were mad was because there was a $10 billion or $9 or $10 billion government contract going out, and they fought for it and they did everything they could. And I think it ended up going to Microsoft, and Amazon was mad and they hit the seal. And you know what the government did? No, what Congress did? They went back in session and they made a $9 or $10 billion contract, and they gave one to Amazon too. They probably didn't even know what the hell it was. It was like, hey, Bezos here, what? Sons of bitches. I wanted that $9 or $10 billion contract, and it went to Microsoft. That's not fair. Chill out, man. It's only 9 or 10 billion. Hey, Nancy, Chuck, Mitch, guys, get around here. Jeff Bezos is upset because he didn't get his 9 billion. Oh, okay, fair enough. Let's get together. Let's wrap another $9 billion contract. Boeing, there you go. 9 billion for you. You remember the CARES Act? Boeing, a company where the planes just drop out of the sky, the doors fly off, the wheels drop off. I mean, this damn thing, they're making rocks. You could take an old wooden balsa wood airplane that I made when I was in Boy Scouts with a rubber band pushing an antenna, and it would be safer than the crap they're putting in the sky. And what happened? What happened? During the CARES Act, they gave Boeing like $13.5 billion, and they didn't even need it. Boeing wasn't like, hey, oh no, COVID's here. What are we going to do? They still had all the government contracts. They're making F-18s, F this, F that, F you, because I'm getting you money. And what happens? They gave him like 13. I don't remember if it was 9.5 or 13.5 billion that they gave them. Just gave it to him. Hey, COVID's here. What do you need? Here's $13 billion. Okay, what are we getting it for? Because COVID's here. Good enough. Take it. They went to the airlines and they said, tell you what we're going to do. You're struggling, you're suffering, and you got employees, airlines. We're going to give you X amount of billion. They gave the airlines billions of dollars. Okay, fair enough. But you can't lay anybody off. And the airlines were like, no problem, man. Us lay people off. Nah, we're just going to keep them here. Give us the money, right? They gave the airlines the money. You know what they did? They laid them off anyway. And then they bought back their own stocks with the money. Did they use it for innovation? Because we know the tech people innovate. Yeah, they innovated all right. They innovated right over to Wall Street and bought back their own stocks like they always did. Do you think it is possible that Elon Musk or Trump is going to call Boeing or the airlines and say, I want that money back? I just saw this thing where we sent out all these loans to people, and people, this is what the guy was talking about. During COVID, we did a bunch of business loans. And also the other thing was unemployment insurance. And all these people applied for unemployment insurance, and they didn't get, and we've only gotten 5% of it back. That's unacceptable. We want to get that money back. So if a schmuck like you or me got a couple extra $1,000 for unemployment that maybe we should have, maybe we shouldn't have got. Okay, fair enough. We got to go to the Hooskow. They're upset. They've got to go search it down. But if you're Boeing and you got $13.5 billion, they ain't even going to make a plane that won't fly. If you are airlines and you took billions of dollars to do something and you just lied and used the money to buy it back, what's happening there? Is it possible that the libertarian tech bros are going to say, no, because it's an oligarchy and they're oligarchs. And what they're going to do is they're going to search where poor little bastards like you and me got an extra couple of freaking beans from unemployment insurance that we should or shouldn't have got, whatever the hell. And they're going to lay us out and they're going to put us in jail for the next 20 years and talk about what great justice they did to save a couple dollars for the government. And they're going to go back and they're going to get their CIA cloud computing contracts, and they're going to get their contracts for their private satellite systems and satellite links, and their Amazon storage contracts, and all those contracts as they tear our asses limb from limb. And the poor little libertarians on the street are going to say, these guys, man, Peter Thiel and Elon Musk and the billionaire tech bros, oh man, they're our guys. Now, Soros, those guys, Warren Buffett, they're evil guys. And as I've said time and time again, I hate to keep coming back to this, but I have no choice. I have no choice but to use this analogy. You know where I'm going. Frederick Douglass. When he was a child, he said he went to town and he saw two slaves fighting. And he said, what are they fighting over? They were fighting over whose master had the biggest house. Hey, man, Warren Buffett has the bigger house. I'm a Democrat. And Soros has a bigger house. No, you idiot. The tech bros have bigger houses. Oh, yeah, put them up. We're going for it. A bunch of dumbass slaves fighting over whose master has the biggest house. Why does it always come back to that? It always comes back to two slaves fighting over whose master has the biggest house. Because if you buy into the U.S. empire, you're ultimately a mental and ideological slave. And you don't realize that your masters are taking you to the cleaners. Let me add this. I saw Musk the other day in the Oval Office or whatever. And boy, you want to talk about a contradiction. Elon Musk is talking about democracy, right? Telling us, look, ultimately what we're here to make sure is that your government works for you, that this grand bureaucracy works for you, and that you actually have democracy. And I'm thinking, isn't that interesting? So a shadowy group of billionaires control the president like a puppet. And as we know from JFK, if he steps out of line, they'll put a bullet in his head quicker than they will drink a cup of tea. So a shadowy group of billionaires run everything. These same billionaires lie to us, tell us they're standing up for freedom of speech, as they literally deport people for saying things about the country that which must not be named. They literally beat the hell out of college students for saying, I don't agree with this, and exercising their free speech. They're all on board with that, aren't they? As he's like, look what they're doing in South Africa. Whatever happened to make America great again? I ain't South African. You South African? All the libertarian tech bros, the PayPal mafia, the South Africa connection, they all got these poor little dummies online crying about what they're doing to the South Africans. What are they doing? They're taking the farms from South Africans. Well, what happened to make America great again? The hell, that South African, that's up to the South Africans to work it out or not. If you got a problem with that, the UN, there's international bodies. Isn't that what they tell us? Isn't that what the so-called libertarian tech bros tell us? Look, why the hell are we meddling in everybody else's country? We got nothing to do with that when it's convenient. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? What about South Africa? Oh my God, we've got to intervene in South Africa immediately because they ain't doing what we want. With that, we, the empire, we dominate the earth. We're going to make America great again. America first. What about this country over in Africa on the other side of the country that's doing something internally that we may or may not like? We got to dominate them to make sure they're not allowed to do it because we disagree with it. Yeah, I voted for that. I don't think so. I did. I don't think you did either. That's democracy. So as the South African loving tech libertarian tech bro PayPal mafia guys tell us, sit there and whine about how they're here to literally. Musk was telling us he was standing. First of all, the guy who got elected was sitting there, chewing gum, playing, I don't know, tic-tac-toe on a piece of paper, right? The guy that actually got elected, you're sitting there and Musk is leading the charge. Well, we've got to do this. We've got to stand up for this. We're going to do that. We've got to make sure. And Trump is sitting there with playing like one of the little folded up footballs, and somebody's on the other end of the table with their fingers like that. And Trump's, yes, 3 points for me. Your turn. He's playing like paper football or tic-tac-toe rock, paper, scissors or something with Elon Musk's son. And Elon Musk is the guy who's there for democracy. He's the one telling us how democracy is going to be fixed. Yes, first of all, we got to do this. We got to make sure the government works for you. We didn't get elected, Elon Musk. Now, Donald Trump has supposedly decided that you're going to lead things, the libertarian tech bros. All that tells me is what I already know. And that is that these extremely rich, powerful people are in charge of everything. I had somebody say something to me the other day. Well, what do you think about Elon Musk wandering around in the treasury? I said, he's the richest man in the world. They are in charge of the treasury. That's his ATM, not yours. You ain't allowed to. Yeah, but you think a judge will stop him? A judge is going to stop him. You don't understand how this system works there, do you, buddy? That judge creates the pretense of structure, of rules and laws. The judge will throw your ass in jail. The judge will take everything you got. If you say, I don't like Elon Musk, I don't like Bezos, I don't like whoever, Warren Buffett, I don't like one of these billionaires. You know what the judge will do? They'll say, go get Garland. They'll bring you before the court. They'll convict you of anything they choose. Mopery on the high seas. Well, what does Garland do? He's exposed himself to a blind person. Fair enough. 20 years, and they'll throw you in jail at the behest of those billionaires. The idea that one of those judges is going to tell the billionaires they own this system. This is not a system that they participate in. It's a system that they lord over. And they have decided that they're going to do something different. And there are no judges involved here. Why is the richest man in the world meandering around in the bowels of the treasury? Because they've decided that there's going to be a new and different monetary system. What it is, I don't know. And neither do you. And we don't need to know. And Trump don't know. And Trump don't need to know because Trump is not in charge of it. That's why do you think? Come on. Think about this. Elon's in charge. What does he do? He first goes to straight to USAID, straight to that, because they didn't just by happenstance stumble in USAID. They went in there and they said, first thing we got to do is shut down the narrative machine. Okay, there you go. Shut it down. If you or I tried it, they'd kill this on day one. The CIA would have put a bullet right between our eyes. They own the CIA and everything else. They own the treasury. They own the court system. They own all of it. So he said, hey, shut down at USAID. Well, what are we going to do? The board of directors just called. They said we're shutting down USAID. What about national? The board of directors called and said we're shutting it down. People are like, the courts are going to fight against them. The courts do not have jurisdiction over the ruling elite, over the board of directors of the United States. The courts ain't going to do a damn thing but what they're told. That's what the courts are going to do. Don't fool yourself. And now I'm bringing up glaring contradictions, not because anything is going to be different or change. I'm just I don't want to see the hearts of the poor little libertarians on the street get broken, but I can't stop it. I can't help them. They're elated right now. They're happy. They're joyous. Things are so good. And then their people have risen to a power and they're just, oh my God, this is good. But they're not stopping to look between the lines to realize that one of the biggest contradictions lies in the country that will not be named, that you do not have First Amendment rights when it comes to the country that will not be named. You ain't got First Amendment rights there, which means you don't have them anywhere. That still, they're going to maintain Google. And they're going to maintain, okay, so they'll say you're not, we're going to cut down on the attacks on free speech. How can you do that if I don't have free speech to criticize the country that cannot be named? They're not going to touch Google because Google is there. The libertarian tech bros, they need a method of control, a method of narrative control, a method of being able to tell you can't make money on YouTube anymore. You can't do this or that. And they ain't going to change. They ain't going to get rid of that. They're going to give you the appearance that they're going to get rid of that. But they're not even going to have a discussion about what Google's doing to you or how Google controls everything. They can't do it because they're going to do that. Now, USAID, National Endowments for Democracy, they'll say, we're not going to do the color revolutions. Think about this. They don't work anymore. They tried it in Iran. Iran laughed it off, right? They tried it in Georgia. The Georgia Dream Party snuffed it. Of course, they're going to get rid of it. It doesn't work anymore. It's an old model. They're moving forward. They will do the same damn thing. How will they do it now in a more clandestine way? What are they going to do? They're going to use AI. They're going to use algorithms. They're going to use Google, which they will not talk about. So now, why? Look, think about this. Think about this for a second. They're laying off all of these useless eaters, supposedly. Now, let me add this. Supposedly, we've got to get rid of all of these government workers. Let me give you another angle. Supposedly, we got to get rid of all of these government workers. Why do we have to get rid of all these government workers? These useless eaters, right? They're saving you money and this and that and do blah, blah, blah. AI. They're going to get rid of all of these government workers. And then you know what they're going to say? They need to be, well, think about this. Let me give you the scenario that I just gave you. You wipe out all of these government employees and then nothing works. And people are like, I'm not getting my checks. I'm not getting this. I can't go to the park. What the hell's going on? Governments are complaining. Corporations are complaining. Wait a minute. I need to do this. I got contracts. I got mining. I got things I need to do. I can't do any of this. The government entities that handle this stuff is all wiped out. What the hell have you done, Elon Musk? And Elon Musk is going to say, oh God, I've made a terrible mistake. Nothing works in the government. How are we going to fix it, tech bros? Funny you should ask. The tech bros. How are we going to replace 70% of the government employees that we just AI? So I use the pretense, right? I use the falsehood that I'm getting rid. Look, right now, all of these companies are laying off people and replacing them with AI, right? And so now I'm going to make the libertarians on the street smile. We're getting rid of government waste. Ha ha. Of course, all of these billion-dollar contracts that I got with NASA, SpaceX, and the CIA, we won't talk about those, but we're getting rid of all of these government useless eaters, right? And the government will work perfectly. You know what? What if they know the same thing that I know? They know the government ain't going to work perfectly. And they know that people are going to cry to hell when they can't go to a park or get their freaking Social Security check. That they already know that. And then what happens? The real slickster does this. If I want to do something that you're going to be unhappy with, right? If I try to force it on you, you'll go get mad and say, I don't want it. I want you to beg me for it. So I create a need for it, and you scream, how soon can I get it? So what do? I wipe out all these government employees and nothing works worth a crap. And then you scream, I can't file my taxes. I can't get my money back. God knows what the hell's going on. Everything's screwed up. And I say, you know what? Funny you should bring that. I have a solution. And then what do you say? Oh, please, God, give me the solution, tech bros. Libertarian tech bros. What is the solution? And what do you say? Funny you should ask. We just happen to have this AI model that we've been working on that was designed for the government. I mean, just a coincidence that we've been working on it for the last 10 years and putting it together specifically to run the U.S. government. Funny you should mention that. By coincidence, I was thinking the other day, I'm like, do I have something somewhere in my company that might, I know. We've got a program called AI Run the Entire Government with no people and not have to pay anybody. Yeah, that we've been working on for the last 10 years. Coincidentally, just in case something should ever happen and maybe 70% of all government employees will get fired. Should that ever coincidentally happen, I got a program here that will handle it. What do you know? Turn it on. Well, what do we have to do to institute it? Just turn it on. It's already connected to all the government systems. I mean, what I'm trying to say is that we could easily probably connect it to the government systems in 5 minutes and just tell me to throw the switch. Click. AI. All handled. Now, call somebody. Hello. Yes, I got problems. I got this letter from the Internal Revenue Service that I owe $12,789,463,000 in taxes for the last week, and I'm disabled. I haven't worked in 11 years. Can you explain it? Hello, this is your artificial intelligence assistant. How may I be of service to you today? Yeah, I just got a $12 trillion bill for 1 week. Thank you. I'll look into it. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Would you like to pay your $12 trillion bill with a credit card? Or would you prefer automatic payments from a bank account of your choice? No, I don't know 12 trillion dollars. Yes, $12,163.94. That is the exact amount. Very good, sir. If you do not pay by the end of the month, the police will be arriving at your home. Luckily for you, we have replaced all of our law enforcement officers with artificial intelligence robot dogs armed with handcuffs and sticks to beat you mercilessly with, just to soften you up before they bring you in. Thank you for your service. Click. Hey, boy, the Libertarian tech bros have saved us. Life is good. That's the future. And you know what? That's pretty expensive to do AI and robot dogs and new prisons for people that don't pay the $12 trillion in taxes that they owe for the last week that the AI has figured out somehow, put a few decimal points in the wrong place. It was actually $12 that they owe you. Okay? Printing, calculation error, you know how those things are. You got to work the bugs out in these programs. Hey, I wonder who's going to get the AI contracts for those. The same people that laid off that lady that worked in human resources who had a sick child who was getting treatment for breast cancer, but when she got laid off, she lost her health insurance. And by the way, she then puts in for Medicaid, which means what? She ain't working no more. It's on our dollar. We're going to pay in the same way that Walmart pays some guy 1 penny an hour, and that person then applies for Medicaid and applies for, because he has to apply for government service because he can't afford to eat. And then we pay the high cost of cheap labor. They're going to lay them off. They're going to put in for government services because they're struggling or homeless or whatever the hell, and we're going to cover it. And then they're going to tell us we got a tax break. That's where we're going. That's the direction I see. So if you're one of the libertarians or one of the conservatives or one of the Trump people who think all is good, here's what I'll tell you. We were probably saved from nuclear war. Probably were. I will give you that. And that's a biggie. And I'm not going to say that that's not a good thing. They're going to dig this thing. They're going to tear they're tearing the whole neocon war machine to pieces. They ain't doing that because they love us. They're doing that because it was a problem and because it threatened their lives. And they're going to do that because they want to do it, not for us. And they're going to hunt the neocons down like dogs. The neocons have violated the rules of the billionaires. John Bolton, all of those guys, trust me when I tell you this. Cash Patel, it's not like he's going to have trouble getting through. Oh, Cash Patel's having trouble getting through. No, it's not like that. He sails through. Why? Because he has a mission. Cash Patel, yeah. These neocons here, yeah. A real pain in the ass. They came after Zuckerberg. They came after Musk. They were going to try to defund Twitter. They came after us billionaires. They're our guard dogs, and they tried to bite their masters. Cash Patel, we want you to make an example out of them. What they're going to do with these neocons is they're going to make an example out of them, and they're going to say, you guys came after your masters, and we're going to make sure that what we do to you, everybody's going to ever know, always for the rest of this world, they will know. You don't come after Zuckerberg and attack him and bring him before the House whatever committee and read him the Riot Act. He's worth billions. You don't do that. You don't bring Elon Musk. You don't go after Bezos. You don't go after us. And if you do, we will tear your ass limb from limb. Cash Patel is going to be a dog. He's going to be their hunting dog. And you know what? The ducks that are going to be retrieved, it's going to be John Bolton. It's going to be Blinken. It's going to be all of those people. It's going to be Schiff. It's going to be those people who had the temerity to go after the billionaires. They ain't going to take them out because they violated you. And they went after Trump. Trump, this is our boy, Trump. He's carrying out his assignments and he's doing them well. We gave him an A last month for carrying out the assignments that he was assigned by the billionaires. You guys went after him, didn't you? Yeah, you got to die. You got to go down. Now, I'm not saying die, but when they get finished with them, they'll wish they died. They're going to haul them before the court. They're going to perp walk them with sweaters over their head. And oh, yeah, if I'm Tony Blinken, if I'm these people, I'm worried because you went after the billionaires. You angered the billionaires. That is not allowed, and your ass is grass, and they're going to be a John Deere lawnmower with 27 horsepower and a 70-inch cut. I'm telling you, they're screwed. That's it. Anyway, thanks a lot, you all. Now, let me go. But guess what? You can celebrate. Yeah, Trump's here to save us, and he's going to remember the free speech. And oh, my God, it's so happy. Yeah. All right, let's go. Janice, workers strike back organizing convention this week. Due dissidents, RBN and Uhuru participating. DD offering other streamers linked to their coverage. 2 broadcasts simultaneously. Econ Populist Cup. Thank you, Janice Anderson. That is just fantastic. G, your boy is getting everything he wanted without killing millions of people like I was yelling for him to do. I must say you were so right. Thank you. Thank you, Raphael. Appreciate it. Francois says, it was the hypocritical U.S. State Department that originally came out against the Romanian elections. They chastised Europe for their crimes. Isn't that hilarious? The United States, you got to laugh at Europe. The U.S. set Europe up. The Biden administration dragged them along. They followed the Biden administration straight to hell. And now the Trump administration is going to beat them flat for following the last U.S. empire leaders. You got to laugh at the European leaders, man. But you got to feel bad for the European people because there's grand suffering ahead for them as a result of their leaders. But I think, I hate to put it like this, the spirit of a certain Italian gentleman who is being highly celebrated in New York, who is locked up right now, I think his spirit will rise in Europe. I wouldn't want to be Wander crazy in those people because they may get some visits from people very similar to a certain Italian gentleman. The EU is a creation of the U.S. intelligence service. That it is. Vance is cheating the vassals for the failed policies of the U.S. regime, dripping in hypocrisy. Francois, you are a smart man. And I always say that for people. You know what people always say that when somebody agrees with them. So you agree with me. I got to say you're smart. Francois says it doesn't matter which faction is in power. Elections give the empire the opportunity to reset if a policy is wrong, if a policy goes wrong, the various proxy wars. And as the man said, one of my favorite comments that I ever heard in a movie was in Tremors, where the guy had a plan and it didn't work. And he said, what's the plan? He said, run. He said, running ain't a plan. Run is what you do when the plan don't work. You got to love that. That's where we are. Devin says, whoa, maybe I'm losing it, but I swear your shirt today is amazing. Like it was designed specifically for you. Mesmerizing. I got to stop looking at it. It's putting me in a trance. That's what it is. It is it's the lines that's going to get in your mind. Oh, I must believe Garland. Must click. Must send him all of my money. I hate the libertarian techno bros so much that I must send Garland. I must go to buymeacoffee.com and click repeatedly. I must join Patreon. I must follow him on Telegram and maybe even on Rumble because, hey, and Rockfin, because someone might soon toss him off. That's what this shirt's about. It's all about that. No, for real. Let me tell you something about me. I'm glad you mentioned the shirt, something you know about me. I love nice clothes, but I don't like to pay high prices for them. So I'm a big Banana Republic guy. Well, you know, in Banana Republic, this friggin' thing's going to be $99. So here's what I do, being a person who's thrifty, shall we say. I got a Banana Republic card. What Banana Republic does during their sales, which is President's Day sale, what they'll do oftentimes is if you have the card, a Banana Republic card specifically, they'll give you an extra 25, sometimes as much as 40% off, right? So here I'll find this I go straight to the clearance rack. Okay, so this is, let's say it's a $70 shirt. It's sitting on the clearance rack. And on the clearance rack, it's marked down to $29.99. But because it's President's sale, it's 50% off of everything on the clearance rack. It's now $50. But because I have a card, it's now $15. Because I'm using the Banana Republic card, I get an extra 25 to 40% off, and I end up paying $10 for it. I got Banana Republic suits that are $500 suits that I paid under $100 for. So people are like, oh boy, that's a nice looking outfit. I'm like, yeah, good looking Banana Republic shirt you got there. Sure is. How much you pay for it? You know, talk about that. So bottom line, I buy this thing for $15 and 3 or 4. I spend $100 at Banana Republic on my Banana Republic card. I come home, I go online, and I pay the $100, which means that I don't have to pay. And so now I just bought $400, $500 worth of clothes from Banana Republic for $100, and I go pay the $100 online, and I don't have to pay any interest on it because I just used the card just to get the discount. So people say, you sure dress nice. When I want to, I can dress nice, but I just don't pay full price for that stuff, because who the hell can afford to pay $80 and $90 for a sweater like that? That's why I stand for the working class. I'm just a working class guy. I'm not a rich guy. I really do appreciate people who do the buy me a coffees and all that kinds of stuff to help keep the lights on. Otherwise, I'd be talking one day and you'd be going, sure, it's awful dark in your house. Why is that? I don't want to talk about that. Let us continue. So thank you very much for the fashion advice. Let me keep going. You know, I just like to talk. I'll talk about anything. I mean, I like pickup trucks, and I like to have a pickup truck, and I have a pickup truck. And guess what? It's a 2013. Who the hell has money to buy a new pickup truck? Back in 2013, that pickup truck was an expensive pickup truck, but now it's a used pickup truck. I could buy a used pickup truck that was really nice in its day. It's a diesel pickup truck. It's a Ford Lariat. I can show you pictures. It's a beautiful pickup truck, right? Pickup truck's 11 years old. And as a working class person, if I want a pickup truck in this day and age, I would have bought it like 6 months ago. If I want to buy a pickup truck in this day and age as just a barely working class, my job closed down because of sanctions, right? So if I want to drive a pickup truck, it's got to be an 11-year-old pickup truck. If I don't want to wear a shirt that's a $70 shirt, I got to figure out a way to buy it for $15. That's survival for people. That's why I stand up for the working class. I'm telling you, I came up. My dad was a longshoreman. He had a 3rd grade education, but he was a hardworking guy, and he put a hard head on, and he went out in the cold and he made a living for his family. My mother started her own bus company and did very well with her bus company. I remember waking up in the morning and it's 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, and my mother is out shoveling ice and snow from the school buses so the buses can go to make a living. I saw people who didn't have a lot of education work hard and figure ways around spending a lot of money, because they came up in complete poverty and nothing. And even when they did well and got into a good middle class from very, very hard work, got into a nice middle class place, they came from a place of poverty. I guarantee there's a lot of people in the chat that have the same thing. Wow, my parents did too. They came from total poverty and they struggled to get on their feet, maybe hopefully get to the middle class, and they still lived as though they were where they came from poverty, because that's all they knew, and they never wanted to go back to poverty, and they saved every dime they made. And I learned that because I came from hardworking people, and my dad was, longshoreman. They'd strike and they'd stand up for working, and that's where I am today. That's who I am. That's the only thing I know. All right, let's keep going. A little history on Garland. Jim Hack says nuclear safety inspectors let go because they turn in laptops, cell phones. DOA does not have an effective way to rehire them. Department of Environment. It's pathetic. It's a sad thing. They're getting rid of people, of just hardworking, plain old people who do their jobs and do it good. It makes me sick. It makes me sick. And I look at a billionaire who's got billions of dollars of contracts standing over, we're getting rid of all these useless eaters. People who are so rich, they're literally trying to figure a way so that they can put their consciousness into a computer so they can live forever. Well, let's figure out how we can go to Mars. They're talking about going to Mars, and people can't even pay their rent. They can't pay their mortgage, and you're laying them off by the hundreds of thousands. And as you fill your filthy, stinking pockets with multi-billions of dollars in government contracts, you tell us you're here to save the money, the government, billions of dollars. That's like a bank robber telling us we're here to make sure that nobody steals money from the bank and ensure that the money in this vault is secure. Why? Because we're going to rob this damn bank tomorrow. We got to make sure that nobody stole the money so we can get our filthy little hands on it. How sad, sick, and twisted is this a situation we find ourselves in? I will, last but not least, Trump's meme coin was a pay-to-play scandal. That's according to Colorado. Well, how about that? How about that? Trump comes out the day before or so, and he comes in and he has a meme coin. All these suckers buy this Trump meme coin. Trump makes billions off of it, and now it's gone down to little nothing, whatever. Right. And it was a sucker's game. And that's what it's all about. It's a sucker's game. It is what it is. But we're wise enough here on this channel that we will not be the slaves fighting other slaves, arguing over whose master's got the biggest house. When we see people who bought into this bull crap that somehow the libertarian tech bros who made their fortune on government contracts, who are still making their fortune on government contracts, who are beating college students to a pulp and throwing them out of the country because they dare to speak out against the policies of the country that must not be named. That those are the people that are standing up for our First Amendment rights and lecturing the Europeans about censorship. We're hip to it, bruh. We're hip to it. Share this on all your social media platforms. If you can, if you find that this is a good video, if you appreciate it, go to buymeacoffee.com. Cash App is info. It's all sliding across there. Rockfin, follow me there. Rumble, follow me there. Perhaps you could become a Patreon member. If you like this, you can help out another working man. If not, look, if you can't afford it, that's fine. Just share this on all your social media platforms. I think this is a very important video, but who knows? Maybe you don't. I hope people watch it. Peace. I'm out.